I just got my brother's results and he's not biologically related to any of us. Who's going to be the one to tell him? Not it. Context. I am a 27-year-old woman. My brother is 20. We were born in Venezuela, but our parents are 100% Spanish and we have lived in Spain for almost 18 years now. We moved when I was 9 and he was about 2. I took my test almost a year ago and was obsessed. I loved all the information it gave me. I persuaded my mom and my first cousin, my dad's brother's daughter, to also take it months ago. I wasn't able to convince my dad, but I finally managed to convince my brother to take it. He doesn't care about this kind of stuff much, so I promised I would manage it for him, and when I got the results, I'd do a reveal for him, kind of like a gender reveal. For babies. Oh no. Well, I got the results on Tuesday and I haven't been able to tell anyone the results. I've talked with Ancestry customer support and they told me the results are right and it is the correct person, but that they are looking into it anyway. Assuming this is ancestry.com. Have you guys done that? I have not. I don't really care to. I don't know why, but let me know if you've done that because it's interesting. Basically, my brother doesn't appear in my matches, and in my brother's matches, I don't show up. And neither does my mom, and neither does my cousin from my dad's side. In his matches, I only see people I've never heard of. None of my matches show up in his. His ethnicities are different too. My mom has 60% Portuguese, for example. I got 40% Portuguese. I think my dad has a bit too, and that is why I got more than 30%. My brother doesn't have any Portuguese at all. Another super weird thing, he has 44% Indigenous Americas, Colombia, and Venezuela. My mom doesn't have that, and I don't have that. My cousin, dad's side, doesn't have that. Another thing, my brother has 12% South Italian. I don't have any Italian, and neither do my mom or cousin. What is going on? I'm freaking out because it's not like my mom cheated, because then at least he would be my half brother and related to my mom. He can't be adopted. Why not? I was sick. Oh, I was 6 when my mom was pregnant with him. I remember all of it. I remember them telling me she was pregnant and that I would have a baby brother. I remember the hospital visits. Hell, I remember when he was born. When I held him for the first time in the hospital, he was so tiny. Could they have done an egg and sperm donation thing? Did that even happen in Venezuela in 2004? I'm 100% sure I am biologically my parents, so I know they aren't infertile or weren't when they conceived me. Could simply Ancestry have lied to me and got the wrong person? I am so confused. Has this happened to anyone before? I am scared of asking him to try another DNA company because I don't want him to ask why. I am scared of telling my parents in case I reveal some huge secret. But my mom seemed normal when she knew my brother took the test. I don't know what steps to take moving forward. Could your dad have cheated? I don't know. I'm so confused. I'm confused, but not. I'm just stupid. Edit. I will address some comments here. Number 1, he's never had bone marrow surgery. 2, many people have asked if my brother looks different from my parents and me. This is something I've never questioned because I had no reason to, but my brother has darker skin than us. It is darker, but not enough to ever think that he wasn't biologically related to us. His nose certainly is different, and so is his mouth. He is shorter than my dad and me, but taller than my mom. He is the shorter guy in our family, but I think he's still growing. His hair texture and color is very similar to all of us, curly and brown hair, though his hair is darker. Ours is much lighter. My dad is almost blonde, and I have very light brown hair too. His eyes are very dark brown. My dad has green, my mom light brown, and I have hazel. When it comes to personality, he's just like my dad. Nothing stands out about his personality in terms that would make me think he isn't biologically related. Number 3, he is and will always be my brother. I don't care about DNA. I'd be so sad if I found out my brother wasn't my brother. But I was there. I was there in the hospital when that little boy was born, okay? I saw it. Number 4, he doesn't show up as a match for me at all. I search his name and he doesn't appear. Neither do I show up in his matches, and neither does my mom. There are no CMs shared. Someone asked how much CM I have with my mom, and it's 3,481. With my paternal cousin, I have 901 cm. My mom is 60% Portuguese, 33% Spanish, 5% Ireland, and 2% Wales. I am 58% Spanish, 40% Portuguese, 1% Irish, 1% France. My dad hasn't taken a test. My brother is 44% indigenous Venezuela and Colombia, 36% Spanish, 12% South Italy, 4% Basque, and 4% of North of Africa. We need your dad to take the tests. You're gonna have to rally him, all right? He's gotta get in there. We need dad to take the tests before brother gets his results. We gotta put our little investigation hat on. We gotta figure some shit out. Edit 2. I would love to respond to everyone, but there are so many comments. I will address some things here. My brother did not prank me. I saw him spit in the tube and I myself put the tube into the box, and later on I personally put it in the post box. That would be a crazy prank though. Wow, just have your sibling convinced that like you were adopted or something, or that one of your parents had an affair. That's unnecessary drama. Never mind. The saliva in the tube that I sent was 100% his. A few have mentioned that it is weird that we have such a big age gap and that possibly my mom stopped being as fertile by the time my brother was born. It was an accident that happened when both my parents were 19, so my mom was still pretty young when she had my brother. It is indeed possible that she wasn't fertile and used an egg donor, but if that happened, I'm sure it wasn't because of her age. Can you like switch things? Like, could there have been a mistake at the hospital during an egg donation process and some things maybe got mixed up? That would be nuts. And you hear stories like that sometimes. As for the results not being my brother's and it being an ancestry mistake, many of you pointed out things that I hadn't thought about. Like, if I got someone else's results, then that somebody would have got my brother's results. Therefore, I'd have matched with him anyway. And I didn't. So nobody else got his results. The other thing is that if it was a random person's test, it really would be a crazy coincidence that the results are on a Venezuelan and not a random European or Asian. It's too much of a coincidence that it's Venezuelan DNA. The consensus seems to be baby swapping in the hospital or informal adoption, because my mom's baby passed. Why don't we ask mom and dad? That could solve a lot. Here's the results, give me some answers. They're gonna have to answer to your brother eventually. A few have said fake pregnancy before an adoption, but I felt the baby kicks with my own hands and face, so that one isn't right. I don't know what it is. I have been mentally preparing myself all day. Tomorrow morning, I will call my mom and ask her directly if they had any help conceiving him and or if he is adopted. Those two would be the better options. If it's neither, well, let's just hope it's one of those options. Let's just hope. But we don't have to hope because we got some updates. I need a sip of water. I really need a sip of coffee and a lot of other things, but water will do because it's good for us. Cheers. Take a sip. As many of you and Ancestry customer support pointed out, it was unlikely that the test was wrong. It was much more likely that the test was right and that there was something else going on. Namely, that my brother really wasn't biologically my brother. I talked to my mom last Saturday. Soon after I got to my parents' house, I got my dad to go buy me some stuff in the supermarket and use the time alone to ask my mom if she remembered weeks earlier when I got my brother to do the test. It had happened in their house and my brother had struggled to spit, so it was memorable. She said that of course she remembered and asked me if I finally got the results. I told her yes, I got them, but that the results were strange. She asked me what I meant, and then I directly asked her if my dad and her had used fertility help to have my brother. I guess something in my tone and face freaked her out because she suddenly got very serious and said something like, "No, why are you asking that?" So I told her the results showed that he wasn't her biological son and that he wasn't related to me or my dad's niece or anyone that she and I had matched with on Ancestry, and that it was very weird, but DNA can't be wrong. And I asked her if he really was theirs biologically, or if they used embryo donations, or if he was adopted. Wow, your mom must have been like, whoa. If she didn't know any of this, she would be shocked. I'd probably faint. Basically, she was in disbelief about what I was saying and said that the test must be wrong, and of course my brother was hers. I showed her my brother's results, the ethnicity estimates. I opened my app and showed her my matches and compared them, etc. She simply didn't believe any of it. She said that it was wrong. I reminded her that she and I matched, with some second and third cousins that we knew, that I matched with my paternal cousin. I told her that it is not wrong, that companies lie and they suck, but it's not lying about this. Matching people with DNA is very easy and final, and they have no reason to lie. I explained how much I spent so much time talking with ancestry support, trying to figure out if there was a mistake, and they assured me that there wasn't one. I explained to her also how my brother's results couldn't have gotten mixed up with someone else's, because what were the odds of getting a Venezuelan person's results and not just some random person from the US, since that's where most clients are. This is so weird. At this point, she was freaking out and shaking and confused, and I 100% believe her. She is being honest. My brother was conceived naturally and she gave birth to him. When my dad came back, I told him the same thing and I asked the same questions. The same argument as before happened, except it was now the two of them. He said he is theirs and that the test is wrong. Anyway, my mom was angry and crying and my dad was very serious, and I finally brought up the possibility of my brother being switched on accident by nurses at the hospital. There's literally stories like that have really happened. So it isn't impossible, which is horrifying. I was first to say it out loud, but obviously everyone had been thinking it. They denied that they were given another baby, but they also didn't seem totally sure. My mom was shaking and my dad was mostly quiet. They said that he was taken to a room with a lot more newborns and always slept there. He was barely in my mom's room. My parents said they don't remember if there were any tags on him with his name or their names. They think there weren't tags on him. But there were for sure tags in the little baby's cribs in that room. But of course, if they put the wrong baby in the wrong crib, that was it. They said that basically he was born, they cut the umbilical cord, kind of wiped all the stuff off him, put him in my mom's arms, and then quickly took him away. The next time they saw him, he was much cleaner and softer, and they say that he didn't have some sort of white film on him. He seemed like the same baby, but in my opinion, after seeing him for maybe 10 minutes at most, right after birth, with the crazy amount of hormones and adrenaline on both sides, would you really be able to recognize a newborn? I don't know. Anyway, that is the update. My parents assured me he was conceived naturally and that my mom gave birth to him. I believe this is the truth. They were way too shocked and emotional for it to be a lie. We bought a bunch of new tests, Ancestry for my dad, thank God, and 23andMe for my parents and my brother. They will tell my brother today. They'll tell him, and then I will give him access to the account that I made for him on Ancestry so that he can freely look at his results and do what he pleases with his DNA. This is a lot. Like, you're suing the hospital, right? If that happened, like, what happens there? Like, if your real baby is with someone else right now, do you like swap and be like, hey, so let's swap our children even though they're full grown? Like, what a wild concept. He is their son, but I know that if he isn't biologically theirs, it means that there's a person out there that is biologically their son. My parents will go crazy trying to find him if that's the case. And it's Venezuela. Feels impossible to find someone there, and he might not even be there considering all the migration the last few years. And what if he had a bad life? A bad family? I don't know. I'm so worried about this, so I can't even imagine how my parents feel. Well, we have a little update here that came 6 months later, which is March 18th, 2025. Recent. So after the update I posted, we talked to my brother and told him the situation. He was understandably shocked and confused. My parents and him got some tests done at a local lab, paternity and maternity tests. They came out negative. Shut the My brother is not their biological son. I don't even know what to say. It was difficult for everyone. It was news nobody expected. 6 months later, everyone is better. Obviously, feelings won't change. Family isn't only biological. Everyone is on the same page about that, so there are no issues in that regard. However, especially when it comes to my brother and my parents, there's now huge questions that no one seems to have any answers to. How could you? What happened to the baby my mother gave birth to? What happened to my brother's biological parents? So yes, that is what has been happening in the last 6 months. In regards to my parents' baby, my biological brother, we have no clue. My mother gave birth in Venezuela, and my parents have tried everything when it comes to that. The hospital has no idea. They deny anything happened. They do not have any records of the babies born there. Apparently, they lost all documents 15 years ago. So everything before that is lost forever. We all suspect that's a lie. I'd say. You think they're about to be like, oh my God, yeah, we totally accidentally switched your babies. Oopsie. No. They're going to do anything to protect themselves from that nightmare. My parents are planning a trip to Venezuela later this year. They'll try to go to the hospital in person and try to figure it out, but there's not much hope there. The only good thing is that it was a private hospital, not public. So that kind of means that probably it was a baby switch situation. Then the baby left with a middle-class family. Most people in Venezuela are poor, so that other family, potentially being middle-class, narrows it down. In regards to my brother's parents, he's been in contact with a bunch of the people he matched with on his ancestry test, and he's also done tests for a bunch of different companies. The issue is that none of them are particularly close matches. The closest match he has is 72 cm, and it's a guy from Cuba that now lives in the US, so it doesn't really make sense for Venezuela either. Venezuelans don't take DNA tests, at least not while they're living there, and none of the people he's talked to has known anything. We are at a loss in how to keep searching with him too. Most of his matches either live in the US or don't respond to him. And that is all. I'm sorry that this update doesn't bring much to light. We don't know. I hope one day my biological brother, if he's out there, takes a DNA test. Similarly, I hope my brother gets to find some family members. That's insane. I was not expecting. What a story. We need answers for you. I feel like I just watched a Lifetime movie. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy.